Hey you guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about anger. This is one of the topics that I did not want to delay in getting back up here on my channel because it is a real thing. I know narcissists do the most. You know, the psyche of a low vibrational person like a narcissist, they take love and kindness, grace and mercy and patience. They take all of that for granted, and they take your kindness for weakness. And that's crazy. Like, just because I'm a loving person, just because I'm a kind person, that makes me weak. Meanwhile, you might be an absolute warrior on the inside and even more aggressive and stronger than them by nature, a real soldier, okay? A sergeant, okay? And they're assuming that you don't have this side to you just because you've showed them love and tenderness. Like, nobody is one-sided in this world. Everything has minimally a duality. But, you know, the ignorance of a narcissist, don't always try to make sense of it. We'll generally touch on things, but the main thing is to understand that they don't make sense, okay? And they will take you for granted. So they'll do the most reckless, disrespectful, abusive, betrayal, Judas type activities to you, and, without feeling bad or anything. And when you start realizing and peeling back these layers of what this person has actually been doing, you might, it's going to put you in your feelings. Chances are it's an exception when it doesn't, but it puts you in your feelings. So I want to make a video like this to simmer us back down, to give us the right perspectives so that when we feel rage, when we feel anger, we're not going to just fly off of that. Okay, so watch this video as reinforcement as much as you need to. And we're going to get into how to process the anger, sometimes rage, okay, that you may, and chances are, this is very typical and an exception when it doesn't happen, the anger that you feel for the narcissist, okay? So the first thing I want you guys to do is acknowledge the anger. Let's acknowledge the anger, and we're not going to push it down. For years on this channel, I've given the example of the beach ball that we push to the bottom of the pool. Can somebody do it? Yeah, it's going to be a struggle though, getting it down there to the ground. But what happens when you get it down to the ground and you let it go? That thing pops up to the top of the pool. So when we push our feelings down, they're going to come up some way, somehow. Usually this looks like an outburst. It looks like panic attacks and anxiety attacks. And I'll do another video on panic attacks and anxiety attacks and how to work your way through those things as well. How to cope through it and actually start to minimize it so that they can actually go away and you're not experiencing them. But yeah, we're going to acknowledge this anger and not push it down. Somewhere in society, through the lack of emotional maturity, because they don't teach this in school, we make anger the bad guy. And, anger itself is not good or bad. It's what we do with the anger that decides if it was good or bad, okay? But we're all here having a human experience, and it's a very normal emotion, right? And is actually a part of the grieving process, which has 5 stages. And when you end narcissistic abuse, you're going to find yourself jumping in and out of these stages, jumping back into another stage, and anger is one. And why is that? Because when you first break, the glasses, the rosy colored glasses, they're coming off. But as you heal, you're able to see past the facade, past the veil, past the illusions and delusions that you were stuck in because of those love bonds and the trauma bonds and potentially soul ties that you had with this person because of the gaslighting and the Stockholm syndromes and all of these things, okay? So I'll just quickly say what the 5 stages of the grieving process is, although this isn't the video that I'll go into these stages, but the words verbatim pretty much tell you what that is. So we got denial, we got anger, we got bargaining, we got depression, and we got acceptance. Okay, so you'll be jumping in and out of these cycles. And of course, anger is one of those. All right, so we'll be touching on that continuing. So it's going to be important for you to determine if you have a toxic relationship with anger, okay, or a healthy one. And how will you know? Does anger control you? you have a toxic relationship with anger, all right? And if you know that, it just means that you're going to take time to do some shadow work in this area so that anger doesn't become your downfall. The fact that you felt angry, okay? So next, you guys, we have to know that anger can be transmuted. That's the most beautiful thing about anger. It's a very powerful energy that has a lot of momentum behind it. So we're going to guide it somewhere positive, and that should be what you want to be doing when you start feeling the anger. All right, at its core, it's a signal and an alert to you. Like, why is this person throwing my energy off? Why do I feel at ease around this person? So anger is your body's way of letting you know your soul and spirit is just not at ease being close to this energy. So you're going to have to take a redirection. All right, a change of environment, a change of association, and going back to what we were just talking about, possibly a change with your relationship to anger. All right, but this video is talking about the anger with narcissists, not necessarily people who are just getting angry for no reason over petty things. That's another conversation. But the title of this video is the anger with the narcissist. All right, but changing your relationship with your anger towards the narcissist, that's what we would be more so talking about here. And we would take this redirection versus having the anger draw you into the person. You're getting drawn into the anger itself. And that might fly over somebody's head. Well, the anger is connected to the narcissist, but what about the narcissist? So we're isolating the anger itself and making it more about the anger than the narcissist. What's angering me? What's triggering me? And how can I remove that from my life? You know, and we're not just making it particularly about that person, because someone else can do those same triggers to you, right? And get you wrought up in the same way. And that's how people end up in these cycles, by not actually stripping this. Okay, it was more than just that person. It was attributes of this person, the way that they carried themselves, a certain energy that they're bringing into my life that I need to be mindful about, and knowing that it does not mesh well with me. You know, it's not bringing peace to me, okay? There needs to be a division here, a divorce, a permanent one. All right, so let the trigger or that stimulation motivate you to protect yourself so that you can get out of defensive mode into offensive mode. So the defensive mode is just constantly putting yourself in that environment, putting yourself with that association, basically. All right, and then that's where you hear people say, well, life isn't just happening to me, it's happening for me. And I'm happening to it. All right. So protection looks like setting boundaries, you guys, staying rooted in reality, and positively self-soothing yourself and de-stressing. All right. So what can you do outside of just feeling angry? Because we definitely don't want to sit and stew in it. All right. So this first part of my speech, you guys, is talking about the psychological and the renewing of the mind when we're thinking about anger. And in the second half, I'm going to be talking about more action-oriented things, all right, just to make that layout for you guys. So the next thing is to remember that you have something to lose, all right? A lot of times, toxic people, lowriders, a lot of times they feel like they don't have nothing to lose, so they don't mind coming all up in your space and trying to ruin what you have going on to try to cause self-destruction on your life. And that's where we get the crab in the barrel stuff. Like, if I'm not winning, I don't want you to win. And it's, you know, quite frankly, it's why a lot of truly gifted people, a lot of times they have to stay isolated, because it's just too many evil eyes. There are too many jealous people. And, you know, they smile in your face. What the OJ say all the time, they want to take your place. The backstabbers. It's real. It's a real thing, you guys. It is a real thing. And you'll find that the most gifted of people usually have the most tiniest of circles, because, you know, with wisdom, they learn they have to guard their energy, because a lot of people are not trustworthy. A lot of people are not trustworthy. And I'm not trying to plant you a seed where you would have to be so anxious around human beings. It's not about that at all. It's more about just understanding human nature. It is. But when you have a special path, when you have a legacy, when you have things that you have to do, you have to be very mindful about protecting that and the people you let get close to that. All right. But when you have something to lose, you'll understand, people have misery loves company at the same time. So, they'll be running off of their primal instincts and trying to, come in with the angry energy with you and wanting you to join in or wanting to bait you into that energy. And, people will be like, well, who is the villain here? Like, both of you are being shady. Both of you are actually in the energy now. So you don't want to take that invitation. And the thing about being human is we have the ability to not just run off the animalistic primal instincts in that type of sense. We can choose to rationalize first, because when we have something to lose, such as consequences, freedom, legacy, family, lifestyle, business reputation, general reputation, all the things that you work so hard to build up, you guys, you don't want some raggedy narcissist, who try to be toxic in your life, come and get you all riled up and get you to just step outside of who you really are. Like, this isn't even who I am. And, they're not even worth it. They're not even worth it. All right. So also remember, you guys, that your anger keeps them on a throne. The fact that they're able to stir you up in that way, it keeps them on a certain type of throne. And we're trying to kick these peasants out on a curb, miles and miles away on another planet if we can, off the throne, So it's important to understand the connection of working through this anger and getting it to be minimized in your life so that you can release it, which is, the final stage of the grieving process. When we come to acceptance, we're able to release. All right. So psychologically, anger is usually rooted in wanting justice or wanting to feel like you've acquired some justice or reparations. It's, the anger could be rooted in feeling helpless or offended and betrayed, you guys. So we need to define what justice looks like, but just making sure that it doesn't further injustice you. You solve one problem and start another problem. So, justice isn't always a tit for tat unless it's being legally happening, What we really want at the end of the story is for them to be done in our story and to not have like further legal ties with them, for instance, which continues the story in another way. All right. And also understanding that you victimizing them, and you're like, how am I victimizing them when I'm just getting my lick back? But it's not how people are going to see it. You victimizing them back only makes them look innocent, makes them look like a victim, versus you making them a non-factor or a nothing or nobody in your life, which is so much more powerful, especially to the narcissist ego. So when empowering yourself, I want you to start proclaiming, you guys, that anger doesn't get to decide. I do. Anger is a feeling, it's not me. It's a feeling. It's a feeling that I felt, but it's not me. I get to decide, not the anger. I get to decide, not a narcissist. So compartmentalizing the feeling versus just surrendering to it with negative urges, you get to decide. All right? Because we're not just thinking for the second, we're thinking for tomorrow as well. This is important, you guys. So you can feel empowered by that. Like, yeah, I can feel anger all day, but I get to decide what I will let that anger bring out of me. I have the master control over that. All right. And I know that takes a lot of emotional maturity, but yes. All right. And also, you can feel empowered by helping others too. It's something that I do. You know, I've experienced anger. You know, people have betrayed me majorly. I have suffered so much abuse in my life. You know, not in this time. You know, this time in my life is called been there, done that, never going back. But I had a lot of growing pains in my life as well. Growing up, my mother passed away at 7. Another woman never really stepped in her place to teach me certain things. I had to learn, you know, through the street of hard knocks, many, many hard lessons, even into my 30s, you guys, you know, and we're always learning until we take our last breath. But once you've gone through enough, you know, and you've worked on yourself enough, I'm hoping for you that it wouldn't be any more devastating moments. Like, of course, we all have to improve. None of us are perfect, and we can get better, but no one's able to really come into your life and just continue to devastate you for your whole existence. Absolutely not. You get smarter and you get wiser from that. And, you know, people getting a piece of my energy is a privilege. You being able to even make me angry, that's a privilege. I don't pass that out to anybody. Like, I have to decide to allow you to make me angry. That's how I am with it. You know, I don't just let people have that type of power over me to begin with. You know, I don't. So just wanted to share that with you guys too while we're having this conversation. So this is important too. Everything, just take all of this in. And like I said, re-listen as many times as you need to for the reinforcement. Is planting seeds in your subconscious, okay? There's confirmation. Private anger, you guys, shows progression, honestly. Private anger, all right? The fact that you felt angry about it, that lets you know that you understand that you were disrespected. You understand you were violated and betrayed. You understand that this is not good for you. You're feeling it. You're not numb. You're aware of it. So that private anger is important. But public anger, when you're displaying this to others, you guys, it keeps the narcissist informed. It lets them know that you're hot and bothered. It gives them the satisfaction. And the last thing you want to do is give them that. You know, I've said this throughout the years. It's really amazing when God allows you to heal in private. And then you're doing the shadow work, the dark night of soul, whatever you're going through, rebuilding yourself back up, and then you come back stronger than ever. That is grace and mercy right there. You know, you don't have to let that be an intimate time for you. All right. Don't give them the satisfaction. Let them wonder, did I even matter to them? Like, goodness, I don't see any signs of this person feeling anything. That's what you want to do. You're winning. You are absolutely winning when they don't even know if you even remember their name. So, when you release the anger, you guys, guess what? They're beefing with themselves. You know, they're left to sit in that and stew in it. Because chances are, there's confirmation, you know, this is what they're rooted in. They like the chaos. They like the drama. They're miserable. They're just angry anyway. They were angry when they met you. That's why they had to bring it into your life. They had to fill your life with what they were filled with. You know, so look, I'm giving you that nasty, angry energy back that you tried to put on me. You know, because most of the time you were okay. So yeah, when you release that anger, it has to go back to its true owner, the narcissist. So they're left to sit in it and all that drama by themselves, and they'll continue to crash out. You know, and these are the narcissistic injuries. These are the meltdowns. This is them scrambling to get another supply, you know. So let them continue to be the display of dysfunction, basically. Let them have it. That's what they are anyway. That's where it belonged anyway. They just tried to throw it on you so that they can pretend like you were the dysfunctional one and not them, per se. You were the troublemaker and not them. So nope, let it go where it should be. Let them go ahead and sit in it for the rest of their lives, because you know they're not doing the work. All right. And if you have a faith, you guys, and because I keep reinforcing this spiritual attack, right? Call on him. Cry out. Cry out. Recite spiritual passages relating to Allah's protection, you know, and to anger, you know, and Allah means God in Arabic, okay? So, you know, you're going to call out, like prayer and meditation. Yes, you need that. Stay prayed up, always, always, all right? And we want to rewrite and manage our thoughts, because a lot of times we've been having verbal abuse, or this person said some pretty nasty things to you and planted the seed and watered it so many times because they might have said it so many times to you. Yeah, you want to rewrite and manage your thoughts from victim mentality, and also be able to identify whose thoughts you're hearing. You know, everything that you think is not your thought. You know, it's the enemy trying to take over your mind, trying to make it your worst enemy, you know, trying to turn it against you, they can't be there physically, so let me work on this person's mind. Let me try to, you know, it's always a mind control from the beginning to get you to believe the manipulation, right? And to see them as something they're not anyway. So what story are you telling yourself? And let's empower ourselves from that. The fact that you are angry and hopefully stepped out of this situation, you're already winning, because they don't even have access to you. They can't do this again, or you're on to them. They're exposed. That's already a huge step in the direction of, you know, freeing yourself, liberating yourself, and being a thriver and not just even a survivor, but definitely stepping out of victim mentality. All right, because perceptions really do become reality, and we can see this happening with them. They tell themselves so many lies, you guys, that they really end up believing it. They planted it into their subconscious. They really do end up believing these lies. It's really crazy, but they do. They psych themselves out, and they try to psych other people out too. All right. So we have to replace and renew those negative thoughts. All right. So now that we've focused a lot on the mindset, you guys, we're going to talk about taking action. All right, what type of things can we do, of course, to help release this anger? Of course, the first thing on my list is going to be physical activity, all right? Because we're moving, we're pushing this energy out, literally, because aggression comes with it anyway. So physical activity quite naturally is going to be great. So, of course, exercising in sports, kickboxing, and boxing classes, yes. Hit that momentum right on out. There, we have rage rooms. Yeah, in America we do. Places where you can go and crash and yell and break and get it out. Like, wear yourself out in there. It's like a form of a workout, right? And I do have sex on here. But, you know, making love with your spouse, of course. And because we're going to make love and not war, baby. Because even during that, we're releasing endorphins. All right, just not with the narcissist, okay? Obviously, we don't want to be deepening ties with them. We're going to counter the anger with love, you know, and I was kind of just touching on it with the physical intimacy part, but, you know, what can you do to put a smile on your face? You know, what can you do to treat yourself, to nurture yourself? You know, your hobbies, going to the spa, getting into aromatherapy. You guys, I absolutely love candles. And eucalyptus and lavender. These things are very calming to our senses. Lemon, you know, just pouring into yourself. Pouring into yourself, you guys. And whatever that looks like for you. We're going to be balancing, of course, our anger out with intellect, you know. And I've talked for years on this channel about logic versus feelings. We feel a way. We feel something, but does that make it a fact? Do feelings always make something a fact? Absolutely not. Something can make us feel a way, but that doesn't make it a fact of anything. It's just a feeling. And then we talked about compartmentalizing that, okay? So we're balancing our anger out with intellect, and I know it takes a lot of emotional maturity to do that when you're in a height of anger and stuff. All right. And that's why when you start doing the work here, you're not going to be the person that gets to you're blacking out in anger. Like, whew, that person is completely out of control. All right. You want to be the person that won't even get anywhere near that, because the closer you get to that, of course, the less logical you're going to be in that moment, and the more self-destructive and the more danger you are to yourself in society and that other person, you know. And you might be like, well, I don't mind being a danger to them, but you know, the repercussions of that could be a danger to you. Okay. So, you can direct this energy into a project. Like this channel, you guys, was founded off of my traumas. Literally, me turning those lemons into lemonade. And that is a book coming. I can't wait to share it with you guys. But yeah, you can direct anger into a project, into creativity, into reaching your goals, because that's a lot of strong, powerful energy. And like I said, we want to direct it somewhere positive. People have written books. People have started YouTube channels. People have become counselors, life coaches, you know. They have done so much. And even if it's just on your self-work, you know, those are all ways of paying it forward to other people, of course, but just even putting it into yourself, like using it to make you mentally stronger, to get yourself where you need to be as well. So yeah, directing it into a project is amazing. Like, people have done it and it has been amazing for so many people. Let it benefit you too. All right. You can release through writing. I just said that, but even just on a therapeutic level of journaling, like, everyone's not meant to write a book per se. Even though we're living our books out, we might not always write it, right? But releasing through journaling. Journaling is amazing, you know, or just writing it. You wanted to say some unsavory things to that person, just write it down. You'll be surprised. You will feel a release by the end of that. You will. Okay, you're like, well, I don't think that's as good as saying it to their face and me actually telling them, no, that's immaturity. Because remember, we're giving them the benefit of satisfaction here. And narcissists will take positive and negative energy. And the fact that you would take your time out of your day to have an argument with them. Oh, you still want to get in a ring with me? I'm still worthy enough to even be able to argue with you? I'm still worthy enough to even be acknowledged? Absolutely not. Don't give them that, okay? Don't give them that. I put water therapy on here. I don't know, water is very tranquil to me, like just hearing it. Like, I used to have a little water fountain in my room and it just trickled water nonstop. And I should get another one of them. And it had little stones on it where I could like set it up. Yeah, I like that. I'm so girly. But yeah, water therapy is great. But I also want to talk about taking showers. I think showers are great spiritual cleansings. And every day I take a shower, I'm like washing off that day's energy. You know, thank you, Allah, for getting me through today. I'm washing all the negative energy off. I'm, you know, taking showers are amazing for cleansing, like, you know, of course, the body itself, but then just feeling like I'm just letting the energy go right down the drain, you know. Of course, baths and swimmings, hot tubs, okay. So water therapy can be great. I also have here to go to or create your peaceful place. You know, that's why some men have a man cave. What do they call it? The she caves? Or, you know, all that's really great. Mine's is my bedroom. I love my bedroom as an introvert. Like, my bedroom has stations in it. Right now I'm in the beauty station. But, you know, just having a quiet space where you can go and feel peaceful. And sometimes it's not inside of a house. It could be a field where you can go ground. Grounding is where you just walk through a beautiful patch of grass barefoot and you're just connecting with nature and letting those ions fill your body. It's amazing. Or for me, it's also an area where a pond and it has cute little ducks and you can just hear the water hitting the stones, and it has a cute little wooden bridge. And every time I go there, I just feel so peaceful. So, you know, nature, you know, we're meant to connect with nature, you guys, even if you're in the city. This, you know, scenery, all of that is just, it's very calming. And it's nice to be able to have that place to go to. All right. Taking deep breaths. Yes, breathing is a great way, you guys, because of course, when you get angry, your heart rate rushes up, and what calms it down? Controlling your breathing. That's why when you're working out on a treadmill, I know for me, I could be wrong because I'm not the fastest person anymore, even though I did play basketball in college, and that's another story. But deep breathing, you want to keep control of your breathing when you're on the treadmill. When you lose control of that, like you start struggling. Like you got to keep your breathing under control. And I was on the track team, so I know this. Next, you guys, listening to motivational speeches. Yeah. Therapeutic content like this. Yeah, this is something. Yes. And, make a playlist and lean on it for reinforcement and keep depositing into your subconscious. Sometimes people even listen to things as they're going to sleep, and they're like, while I'm sleeping, I want to plant these seeds. I want to I really want to get it in there. So yes, you should have a playlist or a go-to place or community, where you can be fed and uplifted and motivated and, relieved, Also, you can take an anger management class. You're kind of doing it right now. If you're sitting through this whole thing, good for you. You're kind of taking one now, but find others, because people might have ideas that I haven't mentioned here, So you could take an anger management class. They're not just for criminals and offenders. You're like, girl, I'm not about to sit up in there with people that done had domestic violence. Child, find them online. All right. So welcome to Bahiyyah's University, aka Reflection and Progression, and YouTube University. I'm sure they probably have anger management classes up here that people have posted. It may not be as fun as mine, they might seem a little bit dry, I don't know. But I'm sure there's even PDFs, there's articles on the internet. Child, we are in the information age of technology. Like, you can find this information, okay? So take an anger management class online or get to the material, all right? And videos like this is a reinforcement, but find others so you can get even more perspectives, all right? Now, this next thing about anger, we're going to find our gratitude. What can we be thankful for out of this situation? Yes, I'm angry that they did this, that, but they didn't get to do that, and they ain't gonna never get to do that again, and they ain't gonna be this, and I still got this, and I still got that, and I still got opportunity to do better and be better. And that was just a stepping stone. That was a learning. People come, they're a lesson or a blessing. Okay, you were a lesson, and I'm gonna turn your lesson into a blessing, baby. And that's the lemons into the lemonade. So where can you find gratitude? What is going good in your life? What can you still be thankful for? Because we get stuck in the tunnel vision, which is very dangerous and can lead to depression, right? And we're just focusing on the trauma. We're focused on the offense. We're focused on the abuse, and it keeps us stuck. There were survivors, I'm like, some of them just still stuck. I'm like, do you want to graduate? Because we have to revisit what you're doing at this point. And unfortunately, there are some people who have been abused and they become professional victims. And that's not going to serve you well. It just keeps you stuck, and you become the bag lady or the bag man, to my male viewers. So what can you be grateful for as well? All right. And we can take all that love, we can take all that care, we can take all that attention and turn it back on yourselves instead of letting them rent space in our minds, right? And now is the time, of course, to be kind and grateful for yourself. So you shouldn't be the one calling yourself stupid and you got played, you got this, you got that. We can do better when we know better. All right? We can do better when we know better. Imagine me not being kind and graceful to myself for the things that I had to learn the hard way when I didn't have anyone to teach me this. They don't do emotional maturity in school. They didn't, I'm like, wow, it hurt to have to learn it that way, but now I did learn it, and I really didn't know better. I had pure intentions towards this wolf. I really did love this really evil person, well, I'm going to be careful who I love. I'm going to make sure this person is deserving of that type of love, because I have a lot of love to give to whoever I choose to give the love to, right? So I get to learn, you know, and I'm very kind and graceful. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect, all right? And side note, I don't want you to think being a loving person is a problem. No, it's not. It's just who you're giving the love to. That's it. You could be loving, you could be kind, but it can feel dangerous when you're always giving it in the wrong direction. That's the thing. All right. Now, I want you guys to find ways to laugh. Yeah, comedy, baby. Yeah, we can counter anger with laughter. And I'm not saying you're going to sit up here and laugh at your abuse, even though, oddly, when you get down the healing process and you think of how remedial they are and how basic they were and how stupid it was, you may even giggle at it one day. Not in a certain way, but in another way, if that makes sense. But if we find space for comedy in our lives, you know, not sad love songs, not stuff that's going to trigger us into what we're trying to get out of. So, you know, this might not be the time to watch romantic comedy about people going through situations that you just went through. You want to laugh, you want to stay light. And this isn't you running from it or being oblivious, but it's helping you balance out that energy so you're not just soaking in it. All right, while you're doing the work, while you're being aware of the triggers and you've compartmentalized it. And okay, when I go see my therapist on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or this is the time I'm going to make for that, or each day when I meditate for 5 minutes on this, but I'm not going to allow it to dominate my whole day. All right. All right, so those are the action things, you guys, and I wanted to end with a few more mental check-ins about anger. And if you stayed with me, go ahead and hit the like button. If you're appreciating this content, you guys, let me know, because I really am giving this from the heart, because I know very well how angry a person can feel, how violated a person can feel, how disrespected a person can feel. You know, how you have to start over again after these people do these things to you. Like, child, honey, child, I know. So this is coming from straight from the heart right here. So here's a few more mental check-ins on, you know, anger. Know that time does help with healing the anger. And we talked about it being a part of the grieving process and how we step in and out of it, you guys. And the more that you do the work, the less angry you're probably going to end up being over time. And you'll find that, you know, it'll get smaller and smaller to where you may even just feel neutral. And then one day you might feel a little bit angry for a few moments. And it's like, child, please, you know, and you'll find that it's never going to be to your detriment when the anger is just swallowing you whole and you can't even function, and you're getting, is leading to other things like depression and lashing out and acting out of character. And this person's behaviors towards you, the experience you had with them is just ruining your life, keeping you stuck, you know, and stagnant. This is not what we want. They want to be the main character in your life. And honey, I don't care how evil, nasty, disrespectful, what you was doing, you're not going to be that. You know, you got to, let's humble them. They're not. They're not. Kick them right on out. No. You try. No. All right. And whatever moments you were feeling sad, maybe that was moments. Do better. Moments. And you can't even do better because you don't have access to me. So, it's important that we're considering that we're not making things bigger than it is. And I know, like, some of you aren't going to want to hear that. Like, what you mean? I know exactly what this person did. I have a right to feel this way. And I'm not saying that you don't, you guys, but we always do have to keep our perspective. And I don't want you to make them bigger than life itself. And that's why I'm saying this. All right. And that's why people say this is small things to a giant. Or, you know, we're going to dust the dirt off of our shoulders, kick the flea off. You know what I mean? And the earth ain't stopping, and it won't stop for that narcissist. Okay. And right now we're just talking about big picture views versus small picture. The small picture, you guys, is the actual acts, the things that they were actually doing to you. Right. But the big picture is my life gets to go on. I get to take a lesson. I don't have to deal with you anymore. I can move forward, be better, be greater. I'm still going to love again. I'm still going to achieve again. Whatever you think I'm lost, I'm getting it back tenfold. Like, that is the big picture, honey. That is the big picture. Whatever your growing pains are, and, you know, he'll allow you to go through certain things to refine you. And I've talked about this. And it's like, okay, you scraped your knee, but you didn't lose it. And the bruise, you can't even hardly see it no more. As a matter of fact, you were glowing better than even before you met that person and had that chapter. Like, it's beaming through you, honey. So tomorrow is another day. And even if it's not tomorrow, they tried to ruin your morning. Well, they didn't ruin my afternoon, and they didn't ruin my night. And I slept real good. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. All right. This is what I'm talking about. And we'll always keep in mind that we can't control the past, but we can control the now. And inshallah, the future. And that means God willing, you know, the future. We're blessed to see the future. We're going to take our lessons with us. All right. And feeling any bits of anger is just a reminder, you know, but feeling it in your detriment is what we don't want, you know, but just feeling, it'll go from just feeling to rarely feeling. And we were just talking about that as the healing process progress. Doesn't mean that you'll get to a place where you would never feel anything, but that's not the point. The point is to get out of your detriment, and you're not being swallowed by it. You're not being, you know, stunted by it. It's not stopping your progress. All right. So the last thing that I wanted to say about the mindfulness is, don't let your reckless response to the anger take you out of the scope of Allah's protection. And again, Allah is God in Arabic. All right. Don't let your reckless response take it out of your spiritual protection. All right. Because, yeah. It's like, okay, I'm moving in your favor, but it's like you want to take the steering wheel instead of letting me take the steering wheel. You do what I told you. I had some oxtails. You do what I told you to do so I could do what I know I'm going to do for you. And whatever, you know, Allah, whatever God can do for you is going to be far greater than whatever you can conjure in your mind. Okay? So with that being said, you guys, we're almost at the 43-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm sending patience, love, and light to all working through anger and betrayal, anger from betrayal and abuse, all right? It takes a strong person to not just rage and get low vibrational, to lose control, you know, and toss the logic out, you know? And emotionally immature people think that it's a strength to just jump on people, to intimidate, and to act like a wild animal. And it's the complete opposite. But to actually rationalize, you guys, and consider your next best steps shows wisdom and refinement. And that's well above the low riders, the ignorant, the remedial low-class people. And I'm not talking about money here. Low class in character. Low class with integrity. All right? Low class. Whew, we got it out. We got it out. And I really hope, you guys, that this positive energy is going to help you when you're feeling anger or feeling enraged from abuse and trauma that you suffered at the hands of a narcissist, because they will take you there, honey. They would try to. They would try to. But we're taking our lessons, and we're going to have those proper boundaries so that we're not having to go through that pain again. And we're going to heal from the triggers and the traumas of what they've currently done, you guys. All right? And we're going to be bigger and better. Better than was before, because you got to understand, you are graduating. You paid some dues here, and you're going to graduate with that. There's a reward waiting for you, because life is a big classroom. There's a reward for that. And it's time for you to graduate. It's time for you to elevate. All right, don't let nobody keep you back there in that filth. You know, you have cleansed yourself and you're moving forward, and you can look forward to reaping the rewards from that. Okay? All right, you guys, I love you. Never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work. Like, subscribe, share this content if you know someone that has anger issues that could benefit from this, or someone who just left a narcissist thinking about it, or if you're just struggling, like I said, reinforcement is your friend. Reinforcement is your friend. All right. Be blessed. Let this help you on your journey. And I will see you guys in the next upload.